Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Today is February, what is today? 20th?
21.
21?
Yeah.
Oh. Our calendar's wrong. Sorry. February 21st. Our topic today is going to be alcoholism, getting clean, kind of all things to do, alcohol related kind of stuff. So, I was kind of thinking today first about maybe some misconceptions that some people have. So let me start off and say, Jesse, for y'all that don't know, Jesse will be sober 17 years in April. Myself, I have never dealt with alcoholism firsthand for myself. I do have family members that are alcoholics. But I think some misconceptions for some people, for a lot of different things, or some stereotypes, is alcoholics only come from either broken families or parents that are alcoholics or abusive families or that kind of thing. So first off, Jesse, what was your home life growing up as far as like parents working, were your parents alcoholics, that kind of thing, just for the record?
No, parents were not alcoholic. Dad drinks a beer a night, every night, always has, and pretty much grew up in the Cleaver household. It was pretty much perfect if you look at it from the outside in. It was me and my little brother. Parents were married, still are, and still alive and kicking, and everything is just as you would think a perfect American home would be.
So they have been married, no step parents involved. They have been married to each other for
51 years.
So 51 years. Neither one of them are alcoholics. Mom was a stay-at-home mom growing up. She worked as you got older, but she was a stay-at-home mom. So totally blows the stereotype out of the water as far as broken home only happens to people of that nature. So it is not alcohol is not a discriminatory, what would you say? Discriminatory factor. It can happen to anybody.
It's not just for poor people or rich people or broken homes or tragedy or any of that stuff.
Yeah, so it's definitely not discriminatory. Another thing is, I think sometimes people want to downplay or deny maybe that a family member is an addict or an alcoholic because of how the outside may view them or whatever. But as we know, as I have came to know in the last couple of years, and as Jesse knows firsthand, guys, it can happen to anybody. I mean, there is no shame in it. There is no shame in getting help. There is no shame in calling it what it is. You can't get help and you can't walk through it if you don't face the reality of saying what it is. I mean, facing the fact of what it is and saying that you're an alcoholic. So I have a family member that is an alcoholic, and I have other family members that like to say, oh, I think they're just sipping, or I think they're just this, or they may be drinking, but it's not very much, or totally not the fact, and totally in denial of what it is, totally an enabler to the fact of what it is. So in that case, there is no getting to the other side or trying to walk through anything if you cannot face it. So we're going to kind of walk through some things. Jesse's going to give some firsthand details of what life was like for him, what rock bottom was like for him, how he would either still be in it or be dead had he had somebody that enabled, or had parents that enabled, or whatever, instead of what he did have, the tough love part of it. So, yes, I'm going to turn it over to him, and we'll go from there. And if I come up with a question that maybe I think somebody may want to know, because I'm very much about details. So
She will chime in.
I will chime in about details about things, but yeah, so I'm just going to let him talk. So let me say one more thing before we get started. Just like anything else about what we are talking about, and what our podcast is about, there is absolutely nothing in our life that we have been through that we will be talking about that we feel like we are putting out there as this is a badge of honor for us, or this is like something that, oh, we're flaunting as like, we're so proud of this and blah, blah, blah. That is not what this is about. What this is about is our testimony of what we have been through, of what God has done for us, of the redemption and the grace and all the things that has happened, of where we are at now, what he has brought us through, but also of putting it out there so others can know that you can go through all the crap and all the craziness and all the mess and make it to the other side, and there be redemption, and there be a fresh start, and there be grace and forgiveness and all the things. So that's what this is about, not a badge of honor. So let's get started.
It's certainly not a badge of honor, I assure you. One of the big misconceptions on alcoholics is that they don't all live under a bridge. And that's one of the things that I never could. I never was comfortable being an alcoholic because I didn't come from the broken home. I didn't ever live under a bridge. Never was homeless. Well, there was a couple of iffy stints, but I never was officially homeless. And I had a job for the most part, and usually had a her around that would support something. So alcoholics come from all over the place. And a little disclaimer is, not an expert on it. I am not, she is not, we are not experts on anything. I'm not even an expert on my own story, as much as I've had realizations looking back at it over the years, that everything, I get new realizations all the time. And, just like April 13th, 07 is my dry date. And at that time, it was the absolute worst day in the history of all humans. But looking back at it now, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So there you go. I'm not an expert at my own stuff. And, drinking was always fun. We got three levels to drinking. Yeah, fun with problems, and problems. And if I could still be in the fun with problems part of it, I'd still be out there drinking. But I can't. It goes to the problems all the time. And that's a part that's absolutely necessary, is getting somehow, some way to that. Now, my story is not unlike most people's story, as far as I drank a lot. I thought I could quit drinking, and then I found out that I couldn't. I remember at one time I knew that I had all sorts of problems as far as I had 3 DUIs in pretty rapid succession when I was young. And none of them were my fault, of course. You know, they're never my fault. It's always somebody else's fault. But I learned how to drink. Not drinking was never an option. But I had to figure out ways to do it and do it better. So I thought I did. And in the drinking becoming more and more and more prevalent in my life, it escalated to a point that my liver shut down, and I was pretty much dead. You know, they called family in to come see Jesse. You know, he's in a hospital, liver failure, jaundice, and I didn't know it, but they had called them all in, and I was not pronounced dead, but it was, if you know, what they told him was, if you want to see Jesse, you better get to the hospital. It's about the end of the road for him. He's drank himself to death successfully. So when I did all that, I always knew somewhere along the way that if I ever had to quit drinking, I would, and I could. You know, the DUIs weren't enough. None of that stuff was ever enough to make me quit drinking. The failed marriage, the whatever, there were a couple of them, but none of it was ever enough to make me quit drinking. So when this liver thing happened, all right, I'm done. I can do it. I can do it on my own. And at the time, I was adamant about the fact that there was no such thing as God. So I knew I could do it on my own, and I know there's no such thing as God, and it's, you know, I can just figure it out. I have to now, and I will, and I you know, got out of the hospital, and I started trying to get sober, and about 2 weeks of it, about 2 weeks of trying my best, doing the things, and then I drank, and I talked myself into it. I talked myself into it's just a beer. Whatever lie I tell myself to get that beer is, well, once I tell myself that lie, I will totally believe it. So I drank, and that beer turned into 6, turned into 12, turned into, that's why I started the world tour. So I finally got fired, and I got all the bottoms were coming, and I'm still able to quit drinking on my own, and I knew that, no doubt about it. And I, you know, all sorts of crazy stories about the offshore oil field rehab. Tried that, it didn't work. I tried going all over the place, the geographical change, and going all over the place, running from that guy in the mirror, and that's the one that I was dealing with, and I tried. I was trying my best with all of my own personal might. I tried to quit in every way you can imagine. I don't know telling how many times I went through the DTs on my own. I didn't even know what they were, but I was, you know, I'd be shaking and sweating and freezing to death all at the same time in various hotel rooms, various parts of the planet. And it was, part of me thought that alcohol helped, which part of me, it kind of did. It stopped the DTs from happening. But through it all, I knew that I could continue if I just try. I'd do one more thing better. Quit drinking this, quit doing that, do more of this, do less of that, get me another girl. It's all gonna help. And it never did. None of it ever worked. Until finally, I had pretty much driven everybody out of my life. Mom and Dad were no longer accepting phone calls, and all the hers were gone by now. All the jobs were done. And the way the
Can I say something?
Yes.
Real quick? So the alcohol had become so bad, and he says that he thought he could do it on his own, but on one of the offshore drilling rigs he worked on, he couldn't have alcohol. So what did you drink instead?
Well, the funny part of that story is that I always had a cold when I was out there working, and so I'd have a bag full of NyQuil. And NyQuil is, you look up the alcohol content on NyQuil, it's a pretty stout drink.
So this is the extent of the problem of on an offshore drilling rig cannot have alcohol itself. So finding something else to supplement.
And I had done that numerous times, sneaking NyQuil or Listerine or something like that, just because, it makes perfect sense. I thought I was a genius. And this one time, the story she's alluding to is I drank so much NyQuil that I came out of a blackout on top of the helipad in my underwear. I don't know how I got there. I don't know what's going on. I just went sleepwalking and ended up on top of the helipad in the middle of the night. And that was 2 years before I quit drinking. So that was way before I had a real problem. That was just another one of those fun with problems things. And it was just another funny story. And I just kept right on going with my life. So. And then there's a bunch of them. We're trying to keep this PG-13 anyway. And there's a whole lot of other stories that may come out, may not come out, who knows. But it was just awful. Looking back at it, it was just awful. At the time, it was fun. And it was, destroying lives. It was, parents were drugged through all that stuff, thinking it was their fault, and the first ex-wife thought it was her fault, and no, it was alcoholism, my alcoholism, that was winning, and it won big time, and until it got me to, finally, luckily, got me to actual bottom.
Well, and the 3 DUIs happened by the age of
95 was the last one. Was that 21? Yeah.
21 was your last one?
Yeah. I was 21, 22.
So
when I was 33, I finally got to the bottom of bottom. Put the shovel away kind of bottom. And I was in a hotel room in Farmington, New Mexico, and I was trying to end it. I mean, that's the truth, is that I was trying to be done with this world, and I had tried everything. I had tried everything you can imagine to try up to this point. I had tried, at one time I tried God years and years ago, and then I tried not drinking a time or two. I went about a month one time without drinking. That was the worst month of my life. So it's not just the alcohol that's the problem. Alcohol is a symptom for the most part of my bigger problem. And there for a time I tried a 12-step program, and I was all in with it. I thought I was all in with it, but I never did anything they had suggested that I do. I was just there, not taking any action, not taking any part in any of the things that they said to do, and it all accumulated with about a month and a half. About a month and a half in between my birthdays of March 3rd to April 13th, and I was done. I couldn't live, I couldn't die, I couldn't do anything, and it's a pretty lonely place whenever you know that the sound that a loaded pistol makes when the barrel touches the back of your teeth. And in doing that, I knew I couldn't do that. Got close, but I never could do that because I had heard somewhere along the way that suicide was harder on the family members of the people that did it. So I was trying to make it look like an accident. Tried to make it look like an accidental overdose. Now, one of the things that got my liver shut down was sleeping pills and booze. So, my infinite wisdom at the time, I tried it again. I tried handfuls of sleeping pills, truckloads of booze, just to end this thing. I wanted it to look like an accidental overdose, so that my mom, my kid, and my dad didn't think I committed suicide. But I certainly was done hurting, done fighting, done thinking, done everything. So I tried it. I tried sleeping pills and booze, a bunch of them, almost daily. In this month and a half, I tried everything possible, and it just never happened. Never happened. So I'm in this hotel room in Farmington, and I call the hotline. I called the hotline, and apparently I'd called it 2 times before. So this third time when I called, I told him my name, told him what I needed, and the guy says, "Jesse, is that you?" "Yeah." "How do you know?" "Well, you called us twice before, and we've sent people to go help. So we're not going to. I'm not going to send anybody else out there." And I somehow I said, "Well, this time it's different. This time I've taken sleeping pills." So the guy says, "You still in that same room?" "Yes, sir." So I don't know how long it was. It could have been an hour. It could have been another day or two. But next thing I know is that distinctive sound of a nightstick hitting a motel room door. And when I opened the door, I saw ambulance. I saw the gurney. I saw all the people with badges. I saw all those things, the lights, and I opened that door, and I just done. I'm done. I got no idea. I got no idea how to live or die. I can't do anything. I was just done. And so when they asked me to sit down on the gurney, they could take my vitals and all that stuff. First time ever, I said yes. I said, okay, whatever. I can't do it on my own. Whatever. So they did. They rushed me to the hospital. Had a blood alcohol content of 0.477, and they pumped my stomach, charcoal, and all the things that go with that. And I remember all of this. I remember everything, and it was awful. But thank God it happened. And thank God, that Jesse, when all this has happened, and knew there was no such thing as God. So I look back at it, of course, thank God. But up to that point, I'm on this big rock all by myself, and I got no idea what's going on. And then that's when the magic started happening, is that I didn't know. Once I got to that point of not knowing, now I got a shot. Now I got a shot at something. At the time, it was awful. At the time, it was worse than any living hell you can imagine. Both being drunk up through all that, getting sober for the first week or whatever it was, just absolute awful. And then came the bus ride. So I got on the bus, and first I made the phone call. I made the hardest phone call I've ever had to make. I called home, called my dad and asked if I can come home. And there was some rules. There were some stipulations on me doing that, because I had lied to these people so many times for so long, and got dropped off at the Greyhound station, got on a bus from Farmington all the way back to Midland, Texas, and there I am, 33 years old, with all of my possessions, everything I owned in the world, in a single duffel bag. Just one big offshore bag. But it was everything. Everything I owned was in that. I had 2 exes behind me. I had a kid floating around somewhere, and no job, no other, nothing but a bus ticket, going to mom and dad's house. And somewhere on that trip, all I know at this time is that I've now lost my best friend. I no longer have the solution that I had for life, which is Jack Daniels, but I lost it. So what can I do? And it hit me that I had never actually done anything that the 12-step group had suggested that I do. Never done anything. I was there. I was at those meetings. I was filling a seat. And when they say pray, I would bow my head and pretend to pray, but I'd never actually done any of it. So I made a decision at that point to, all right, I'll give this a shot. I'll try these steps these people kept talking about. So went there, got to mom and dad's house, and they started growing up in public. You know, I'm 3 months sober when I was there, and the whole time I'm steadily going to meetings. I'm going to a couple of meetings a day. Mom's taking me there for a while because I don't have a vehicle, and they weren't going to let me borrow dad wouldn't let me borrow his truck, which, you know, of course not. I've been lying to these people for 30 some years. Why would they trust me just because I say I'm being serious? And so that's how it started. It started doing the process of the steps slowly, one day at a time, and just doing it and doing it and doing it. And, you know, and in the process of doing all that, you know, it's 16 years, almost 17 years of doing that. And, well, I found God. So it all had to happen. It all had to happen. That bottom, that version of bottom, absolutely necessary for me to find God, for me to need help, for me to want to ask for help, for me to want to do something to get help, not just want it and wish for it, because if that was the only requirement for it, everybody would be sober, you know. But you know, there was actually some stuff I had to do, some stuff I had to the process of the 12 steps is absolutely amazing. And I did it. And I did it as an atheist. And that's what the crazy part is, that I was an atheist for, I just knew there was no God. And I didn't care to get in any arguments anymore. You know, I was around those meetings and they was all saying all the happy things about, you know, pray and sunlight of the spirit and all those happy words, and it just infuriated me. But I didn't have anywhere else to go. I had nothing else going. If I would have had another job lined up, if I would have had another girl to run to, I'd have done it. But I didn't, luckily. That's what bottom was. Bottom was not having anything or anybody. So I did the process of the steps. And in doing the steps, it was not transformative, and not necessarily. I mean, it was me being around a bunch of sober people. It was me slowly learning that I'm not the most qualified person to run my own life, because where it had gotten me, but it had settled me down long enough to think maybe what these guys have over here is something I don't have. So I just did it. I told myself to shut up and do it. So I did. And in doing the process of the steps, I was close to a year sober, and it came to the making amends part of the steps. And in the making amends part of the steps, there was one name that was high on the list. That was the first ex-wife of mine. And I was a bad husband. And so I met up with her and did the amends. And I had planned it out. It was during a kid swap. We swapped the kid out, and we were in Longview, way far east Texas. And we met at the Walmart parking lot, and I had planned it out beforehand, asked for her, I needed to talk to her for a few minutes, and we did. We got there and we talked. I laid out the most perfect amends ever, and I had a 7-hour drive and plenty of time before that to really hone it up, to get it to where it's clear and concise, say what I need to say, and then listen and do all that. Well, as I say these things, I get done, and she says, "There is nothing you can say or do that's going to make up for the shit you've done to me in the past," and just throwing it at me, and it's like, whoa. But the whole time, on the outside, I'm just quiet. On the inside, more stuff brewing up. But on the outside, I I just sat there and I listened, and I kept listening and kept listening. And then she gets done. And I say, thank you for your time. She gets in her car. I get in my truck, and she drives away. I burst out crying because it's not supposed to be like this. It is not supposed to be like this at all. You know, all the stories I've been hearing these people talk about, it's all supposed to be happy, happy, and it's going to be hugs and kisses and unicorns and rainbows. It's supposed to be wonderful. Nope, just the opposite. So there I am sitting in a truck, far east Texas, and I made a phone call. I called my sponsor. So what do? This is awful. And he said, well, let's come to the house. Whoa. You know how many liquor stores there are between Longview, Texas and Midland, Texas? There's a bunch. An entire city of Dallas right there in between. So I did it. I mean, I'm finally wipe the tears away and take off driving. And as I'm driving this long trip, something clicks. Something in my brain clicks to where I don't listen to that woman say those words to me, and then my response is, thank you for your time. Something's going on. Something's up. And that's what it was. It was just a little click, just a little chance. Maybe something's different. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe. I ain't having a religious moment by no means, but I'm open to a maybe. Like, might be something happening. There might be something going on with what these people are talking about. And that was it. That was how it started. Is that little half a click of a maybe. Okay. So got to Barry's couch and cried and cussed some more and kept doing it. Kept doing the things that I was doing. And slowly, painfully slowly, but just keep on doing it, and it would be a little something else. A little something else would happen. And then somewhere along that, another year or two, I mean, I'm in there doing the thing, and a couple of years into it, I had this, I heard it somewhere, but give all coincidences to God. All right, maybe he's worth that. And so I started doing that, and that was the little trick I had. Everything in my life that was a weird, crazy coincidence. All right, God did that, and just all the things, all the job things, these things, all the things were. If it couldn't be explained, I just gave the credit to God. Like this weird invisible man that lives in the clouds. Cool, y'all's deal. I'll give him credit for it. I'm good with that. And that's the real way it really started. And then I would hear little morsels, little nuggets along the way. And one of the best ones I had heard is that you don't have to believe, just believe that we believe. Like, all right, I can do that. I can do that because I ain't gonna believe this. I ain't gonna believe in Visible Sky Wizard. I ain't doing it. But I can believe that you guys believe. And so with that, and doing with having that little tiny bit of knowledge, and then keep on doing the things. Keep going to the meetings. Keep doing the recovery steps. Keep being active. Keep being a service. Keep getting out of myself and helping people move couches. Keep changing tires for people. Keep helping. And I could easily do that. You know, I can lift a couch. Praying's hard, but moving furniture is easy. And I did it, and it worked. It worked perfectly all the way. But I never knew it. At the time, all I know is that I'm getting out of myself. I'm getting out of myself and helping somebody else. If I get out of myself and help somebody move a refrigerator, good, I'll take that deal. I'll take that deal. And people thought I was a good guy. On the inside, I'm being more selfish than anybody else because I'm I'm here moving this gun safe just for myself. But it, Jesse's a good guy. He'll help you do stuff. Like, awesome. And it all worked somehow, some way, without me having to figure it out, without me having to know it worked. And then looking back at it, it was all God. God was all over the whole thing, all of it. And none of it would have happened had I not had a hard bottom. And the bottom part is the, that's the tricky part to getting and being sober, is to have a bottom, a real one. And any bottom can be a real one. It doesn't have to be under a bridge for 6 months. It doesn't have to be, drunk on a offshore platform. It doesn't have to be that. That doesn't have to be a bottom. It doesn't have to be liver failure. It can be misplaced your spare set of car keys to your Mercedes. Cool, bottom. But you've got to be willing to do something after that. And in me getting that gift of bottom allowed me a chance to find God. And that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing with life is connection with God. And I got it. And I got it, and it's changed numerous times over the years. And it just kept on evolving until September of 22, when I finally came to Jesus. And in doing that, then I one of the big things I realized was that Jesus was with me way back then, whenever I could prove that he didn't exist. He's right there, just watching me fall, holding me up, whatever he's doing. But he's got me then, so he certainly got me now. And it's an amazing thing. And in doing that, in doing this whole thing, it's just been the absolute world's greatest life. Like, it's been, there's tough things, awesome things, horrible things, but it's all God-centered. It's all by, for, from, because of God. And once I finally realized that, it started making sense.
So I know that there's a lot of people that struggle from, whether it be a parent's side, whether it be a friend's side, whether it be a family member's side, of being an enabler or being a savior or whatever, thinking that they're helping their addict or they're helping their alcoholic or whatever, thinking they have to bail them out of jail, or thinking they have to save them from the street, or thinking they have to give them money to pay their bills, or thinking they have to do XYZ, blah, 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 and not let them fail because whatever. What is your advice to them? And your parents, I know, did not do that for you. And I'm sure at the time you probably were not very happy with them for not doing that with you. But what is your take on that now, being on the other side of it, and what would be your advice to those people?
Well, I don't know if it's advice really. I just know for me in my personal life, for me, because I know the way I am. I can't speak for all alcoholics, but I certainly know a thing or two about this guy, is that, and I started off telling my parents this, and I've told everybody that's been important to me for the last 17 years, and now with her. It's, if you ever see me drinking a beer, if you ever see me having a beer with lunch, hear of me, deserving a beer after a hard day's work, and I have it, run and hide and slice my tires, put sugar in the gas tank, get me fired, get me arrested, whatever you've got to do to get me back to bottom. Because when I start drinking again, I'm going to lie. I'm going to convince myself of it first. And then once I got myself convinced of the lie, you guys are easy. I got you guys that a problem. But that's the thing, is if being a real alcoholic like I am, I've got an allergy to it. It's not like I drink because I want to. I drink because something clicks inside of me, and I have to. I have that one beer for lunch, then it's on, and I've seen myself do it. And that's the thing with me and my story, is that I tried to stop and I quit drinking for a while, and then once I have that one, here we go, we're off and running again. So once I get that first beer in, if you love me, get me back to bottom as soon as you can. Which is hard. I mean, that's brutal for anybody to hear, for any loved ones to hear, but that's the truth. If you love me, if you care about me at all, you give a shit about Jesse Cudd, get me to bottom as fast as I can get there. Otherwise, I'm blowing the planet up. If you believe me, you start listening to what I think I need. You start listening to all of my poor me, and you start believing my poor me stories, I'm taking you down with me. And it's just the brutal truth to the whole thing. So if you love me, cut me off.
So they are not help. I mean, in their head, they think that they're helping their addict when they're throwing money at it, or they're paying the bills, or they're bailing this person out, or whatever. In their head, they think they're helping, but they're
Right.
They're not helping.
No. Well, no, they're not. In the big picture, no, they're not helping at all. In the little picture of listening to me tell you what I need, crying, bawling, sob stories, whatever, you're helping that guy, but you're not doing anything to fix a problem.
And what is it that you say? Loving them to
loving them to death.
Literally.
If you see me drink and you start and you don't get me to the bottom as quick as I can get there, you're gonna kill me. Might as well pull the trigger. Do it sooner rather than later. But it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And so you're loving me to death. And that's another one of those brutal things. I can't really wrap my brain around it, and sometimes, but being around long enough to see and to know that that's the absolute truth. I've seen enough people do it, and I've seen my own story enough to know that that's the truth. If you love me, you're not helping.
Now, the other side is, how hard is it for, can't speak for everybody, but say for you in particular as an addict, how hard would it be for you to be married to someone that drank in front of you all the time, had liquor in front of you all the time, all that kind of stuff, and just expected you to go to bars with them all the time, or whatever, for you to be in that lifestyle as an alcoholic, kind of throwing it in your face, whether they're meaning to or not, that kind of thing. How difficult would that be for you to be in that situation?
The right answer is that it shouldn't matter at all. The truth is, I don't want to be around it. I shouldn't be around it. I know whenever me and wife first got together, she had a beautiful assortment in her liquor cabinet. It was just amazing. It was wonderful.
And just so y'all know, I'm considered a normie. I had never in my entire life, that's what it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never in my entire life heard that term until we got together. A normie. So I could have one drink in 6 months. I could have 10 drinks in a night. One way or the other, it didn't affect me. But I would have parties at my house quite a bit. And so we have a cabinet. How long is that cabinet? 8 foot long? 10 foot long?
8 or 10 feet, yep.
So we have a cabinet in our dining room that's 10 foot long and 2 shelves high. And when we got together, it literally was both shelves from side to side and 2 deep, full of every entire liquor that you could possibly think of, just because people would bring it over, leave it, whatever, and it could be in my house forever, and I didn't have a problem with it.
And the truth is, I don't have a problem with a liquor cabinet, which it was beautiful and amazing, by the way. Just need to stress that fact. But no, I the world doesn't stop drinking just because Jesse quit drinking. And I can be around booze. I can be around it. I should be able to. But my problem with that beautiful liquor cabinet was that if I'm going to live in a place, this is my home base, I don't want to hear. I don't want that collection of booze in front of me, just because, at some point, I'm going to get a bad phone call. I'm going to get one of those phone calls. One of those things is going to happen, and I'm going to need to go to home base. And I shouldn't even worry about this, because God's got it. But truth is, I don't know for sure, and I don't want to risk it. I can't risk it. And it's just like going to bars. If I need to go to a bar, if I got a business thing or I got a reason to go to a bar, I can go to a bar. Not a problem. But I ain't going to keep going to a bar all the time just because I like the music. I'm not going to be going to a bar because I like the atmosphere. I can't be doing that. I shouldn't be doing that, because that's, for me, that's where I went to drink. But the being around it isn't the problem. Being around it for the wrong reasons would be the problem. And because of that beautiful liquor cabinet, is not at home. Not many open half bottles, stuff like that. I don't need to. I just don't need to be around. Not a tempt, by no means, and I don't think I ever would. But I just don't want it around.
Well, and like the thing for us, everybody's different, and like you said in the beginning, we don't have it all figured out. We will never claim to have it all figured out. But when we got together, he never once asked me to stop drinking. I made the choice when we got together that I was going to stop drinking, because if I choose to be in a relationship with someone and I love someone that has had a problem with alcohol and is an alcoholic that is sober, why am I going to put him in a situation that could be potentially harmful for him? Like, why would I choose to do that to him? So from that point on, I just decided that I was not going to drink again. And I haven't had a drink at all. I buy Listerine and it's alcohol free. It's just all the things in our home is where it is a completely safe environment. And again, not because he ever said anything or asked me to ever do anything, but the moment that he saw the liquor cabinet, it has glass doors or frosted glass doors on the front of it. He didn't even know it was there for months and months and months. And one day he was like, "Is that where the liquor is?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Can I see it?" And so I opened the door and he was like, "Oh my God." He was like, that is more beautiful than most bars have. And I was like, I know, it's pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive. But that weekend, literally, we were having a get together at the house. And that weekend, I gave every bit of it away. And again, this is not for everybody. I'm just saying the choice that that I made for us, because I'm not going to put at the time it was my boyfriend, but I'm not going to put my husband in a situation like that of putting him in something that makes him feel uneasy or uncomfortable or is not a safe place for him. And I'm not going to drink around him and breathe on him and be all up in his face when I'm drinking and trying to kiss him and whatever, because it's just not, that's not respectful, not cool. So another thing that we've heard is people thinking, oh, well, I cannot, as an alcoholic, I cannot drink for XYZ so long, and then after so long, I can just drink casually. The fact is, if you are a true alcoholic, is that possible?
Once you got that allergy, you're done. It's kind of like, I compare it to the kid that's allergic to strawberries or peanuts or something like that. Is, once I have it, and if I have one today, then it's the same thing. It's the same effect. I haven't done it, of course, but I've seen the story enough times. Enough friends of mine, enough close people to me. I've seen what happens. That we will never get better. Alcoholism never goes the other way. It always stays. And one of the little sayings is that my alcoholism's out in the parking lot doing push-ups, getting ready. So, no. And the other thing with the liquor, beautiful liquor cabinet she had, I can't get off of that. But I can go anywhere right now. I can go into a seedy crack house to go do a 12-step call on somebody, and it's not a problem. My issue is when it's at my home base, when it's at my house. So I can go anywhere with the power of God on my side. There's nothing that I can't do, and I just don't want it at my house.
Well, and you also have 17 years in. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, not saying you couldn't wake up one day, have a horrible day, whatever. As opposed to brand new, where you were 1 month in, just starting out, not having all the tools, not having
God,
not having the tools, not having the background, not having the things that you need to do it. So, again, not saying that it can't happen 17 years in. We met a guy, when he went and spoke.
Yeah, that was 20, 30 years?
30-something years in. So, I mean, it happens. It does happen, that relapsed at 30-something years in. I mean, so people thinking, that's why I say people thinking that, oh, after 5 years or after 2 years of me not drinking at all, I can be able to go and have a drink and be fine. But if you're a true alcoholic, I just don't think that that's a
No, it is not
possibility.
An option. It is not an option. Certainly not for me. Somebody may be able to do it, but I don't want to be around them.
So, anything else?
No, what else you got? Miss anything? We get to all our bullet points. By the way, we actually just went through all this today to figure out what we're going to be talking about. So we will get better at this, I assure you.
And again, we're not scripting anything. We pray about it and talk from our heart. Feel like whatever God tells us that we need to talk about is what we're talking about. So we do link we haven't figured out how to link, so it's probably not the right word to say. Link our putting our email address, so if you have questions or you want to talk about things or whatever, or you have any more questions about alcoholism, addiction, getting clean, getting sober. Jesse does have, if you need help, if you need tools, if you need something, resources of any sort, please reach out, because he has connections to be able to link you up with somebody. One of the things that I know he would tell you would be to get a sponsor if you're dealing with something like this. But what else?
I think that's it.
But we'll put our email address, and please feel free to reach out. And like we said in our first one, we're not here to out anybody. So if you want to be anonymous, you will definitely remain anonymous. You have questions, whatever, we can address them. I'm sure that another one of our podcasts will talk more about alcoholism, addiction, whatever. But we just feel like this was today's topic. So love you guys, and let us know if you have anything or any discussion that you want to talk about, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.